There's something timeless about the scent of tobacco. It's in old letters, leather chairs. It can conjure memories of Father's Day mornings. Maybe your grandfather smoked a tobacco pipe every night after dinner. Maybe your dad received a nice box of cigars on the day you were born. Or maybe not. This isn't 1950s America. Maybe you're just like me and you enjoy that rich, smoky, earthy, somewhat sweet scent of tobacco. And maybe you just love to have it around you. But what if I told you that the scent of tobacco, or the tobacco and how it's used in modern day perfumery and home fragrance, has very little to do with dads and definitely nothing to do with comfort? That's what we'll be talking about on Aromatic Adventures by PJ. I am PJ, and I'm your guide to hidden histories, fragrant futures, and how to transform your life with home fragrance. So, before we get into this story, let's talk a little bit fun with tobacco. Some fun facts. One, well, tobacco has been used by the indigenous peoples of Ecuador and Peru since 5000 BC. And the plant is actually very, very close to the tomato plant and potatoes. And some varieties of tobacco are actually luminescent, most notably Virginia tobacco. If you put a UV light on it, it will glow. Bet you didn't know that. So now let's get into our story. Let's go back to 1560s France, and there's a woman there who's Italian born. Her name is Catherine de Medici. You might have heard her name before. Catherine was a shrewd politician. She was a lover of the arts. She was an intellectual. She also had pretty good fashion sense. Some people credit her with the invention of the high heel, and she was an early wearer of the corset. She also sort of invented this collar called the Medici collar. It was different than a cartwheel ruff, which was worn a lot during the 16th century. The Medici collar was made of lace and it was open in the front. And even though Catherine lived this charmed life of luxury and pampering, she suffered. She suffered from migraines. And as anybody knows who suffered from migraines, they are excruciatingly painful, and it's very hard to get relief. Now, keep in mind, again, this is the 16th century, and you couldn't just go over to your local pharmacy and get an Excedrin and pop that and be okay. No. People were still trying to figure out what to do with certain aches and pains. So, she meets this man by the name of Jean Nicot. Jean Nicot was a Frenchman, but he was working in Portugal. And Nicot, pay attention to that name, Nicot. While he was in Portugal, he was introduced to the tobacco plant. And it was brought over from the New World, and people were kind of curious about it, but they didn't really know what to do with it. Some people were smoking it, yes, and some people were just putting it in their gardens so that they could look at it because it does produce a pretty flower. But Jean Nicot was not content with that. He said, there's got to be something else to this tobacco plant, and I'm going to find out. So he dried out the leaves, he ground them down, and he presented them to Catherine de Medici. He said, here, chatty Cathy, here's a box for you. Enjoy. Maybe it didn't quite go like that. But anyhow, he gave her this box, and it was snuff, what we would call snuff today. And he told her, snort it and see what happens. So she did, and lo and behold, she got some relief from her migraines. Now, whether there was actually some scientific proof about that and whether it was actually biologically curing her migraines, we don't know. But it could have just been a placebo effect. She could have just enjoyed the scent of it, made her relax. Who knows? But she, being a noble woman, she kind of created this trend. And so other people started using tobacco for snuffing. And it just caught on, went all the way throughout Europe. And even the little boxes that they came in, the snuff boxes, that became fashionable too. There were all sorts of designs that were made. And then tobacco just became this thing. So this little jar of powdered leaves became a fashion statement and a medicinal accessory, all thanks to Jean Nicot and Catherine de Medici. And then years later, when scientists were trying to think of a name for this curious plant from the New World, they decided on the name, thinking about Nicot and his contribution to making tobacco popular. They named it Nicotiana tabacum. Now, if you love the scent of tobacco and you want it in your home, there are ways you can bring it into your home for sure. The most authentic way is to go down to a smoke shop, get a tin of chewing tobacco, and bringing it home and putting it in, using it as you would potpourri. I would not suggest this if you have little kids or pets because you definitely don't want them getting into that. But it is a surefire, true traditional way of getting that authentic tobacco scent in your home. Now, if that seems a bit too strong for you, you can actually buy tobacco oil for a diffuser and use it that way. A great thing with a diffuser is you can blend it. So if it's too strong, you can tone it down with different scents like vanilla. I love using wax, and so that's also another great way is to use wax cubes in wax warmers. And I have a scent that I am totally enamored with. I don't know what I would ever do if I couldn't get my hands on this anymore, but I think I'm set. It was released last year. It's no longer in production, but I do get it through a subscription club. And it's tobacco, but it's got vanilla in it, so it sweetens it up a bit, takes it a little away from that earthy notes. It's also got vetiver and a splash of grapefruit. And so the combination of those notes really makes the tobacco less earthy and more vibrant. I love that scent. I typically do not use it in the home at this time of year as the weather is warming up. But again, with wax, you can do so many different things. You can blend scents. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to make this tobacco scent work for summer. So what I did was I blended it with coconut. Coconut actually works quite well with tobacco. The coconut, depending on what type of coconut you use, and I'm not talking coconut milk, I'm talking about like the husky, dry coconut. Combined with that tobacco, they really complement each other. It's beautiful. Chef's kiss. Beautiful. Now, people in the fragrance world, personal fragrance, you can find tobacco scents just about anywhere. It's actually quite popular for personal fragrance. One of my favorites is by a company, I don't want to butcher the name, but it's Etat Libre d'Orange, and they have a fragrance called Jasmine et Cigarette, and that is tobacco with jasmine. Beautiful, beautiful scent. There's also the very famous Tom Ford vanille tobacco, or is it tobacco vanille? I don't know. But that is very strong, very tobacco rich. I don't get much vanilla from it at all. Some people are divided on it because apparently there was a reformulation at some point, and the older version is different than the one you can get today. I don't know if that's true, but I'm happy with it. There's a company called Mancera, which makes a scent called red tobacco. That one is very sweet. I love that one also. And of course, we can't forget Maison Martin Margiela. There's a scent that came out quite a few years ago called Jazz Club. It's got tobacco, of course, but it's also got that note of alcohol. It's whiskey, it's rum, it's tobacco. It really puts you in the place of being in a club with smoke all around you and people smoking cigars, and you're throwing back a shot of whiskey. It's a great scent. Now, as I said, you can do different things with tobacco in terms of mixing it. If you're curious, you can try mixing tobacco with a floral, just like as jasmine et cigarette, a floral like jasmine or orange blossom. Probably best with a white floral that's heady, that can kind of hold its own with tobacco. And yeah, other than that, if you do want to try out the tobacco scent that I use at home, just contact me. I can work something out with you. And I hope you enjoyed this scent trip, this aromatic adventure, where we went through history, we went through some mystery, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope you learned a lot. I hope you took something away from this. And the next time you think of tobacco scents, think of Catherine de Medici. Think of that lady who had a headache and she changed it all for good. In case you're wondering what tobacco looks like, here you go. It looks just like a regular branch. But I picked this up. I have some relatives on my husband's side who happen to live across the street from a tobacco farm. And we were out there exploring a few weeks ago, and I grabbed this. It's a tobacco plant stalk. The branches kind of grow off of it, and they take those off. They take the leaves off and they dry them. They have to cover them to dry them, and then they use it for whatever purpose they need. But yeah, this is a tobacco stalk. It still kind of has a tobacco scent to it. But there you go. If you're curious, that's what it looks like. So the next time you're enjoying a tobacco scent, you can think of Catherine de Medici and Jean Nicot and thank them for helping to bring tobacco into the world of fragrance. Now, until next time, thank you for joining me on this aromatic adventure. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Oh, and don't forget to check out my guide to what's popular for spring and summer this year, home scent trends. Check it out in my description. Bye for now.